21st century superhuman. And I know that the answers are inside. Yeah, I am a 21st century superhuman. Now is the time. Come on everyone, let's celebrate. We are the children of the sun. I can see it when I look into your eyes. We are the same, and we are light, yeah, we are one. And we can make a difference, yeah, we can be the change it takes to make the world a lot more fun.
Hi there, I'm Cary Ellis, author of 21st Century Superhuman. This is our 21st Century Superhuman show. And today I'm excited to have with me Georg and Fredrika from South Africa. How are you two today?
Super, hello, how are you?
I am good. And what's so exciting is we got to meet. I met such a wonderful group of people in South Africa when I was invited over there to teach plasma technology. And then we had great learnings with plasma technology. And then you guys introduced me to Orgonite. And I've been so happy to have Orgonite in my life. And how did you guys get involved in Orgonite?
Sure, that's a long story.
Tell the short version.
Yeah, basically, I've been reading the books of Wilhelm Reich when I was 14 years old in the 1970s. And then I forgot about this whole theme of organ energy and all that for a while. And in the early 2000s, I started reading a lot about free energy and things like that, and stumbled upon Don Croft's work. And he's been the one that basically pulled Wilhelm Reich down to earth to make it a kind of a technology that every person can use. Every Jim and Jack can basically make Orgonite and start making his environment a better place. So it's kind of a people's version of what started as esoteric, or let's call it elitist research, you know, kind of university level academic research, and now it's kind of become the stone in the slingshot of David against Goliath, you could say. You know,
beautiful. I love it. And one reason I wanted to do this show with you is because you are really, you speak so well of this knowledge. And I think we all need to learn. It's really a great science to learn. And you guys are originally from Germany, correct?
Yeah, so excuse my sometimes thick German accent. You know,
yes, you have a German accent on top of a South African accent, right? And,
what do you think is the South African accent?
I don't even know if that's there, but then you were an architect, right? Kind of a futuristic architect, and leapt from that into making Orgonite your life's work.
Yeah, you know, I still do a little bit of architecture here and there, but mostly for myself. You know, like recently I've renovated an old place and made it into a restaurant, or I've built a little office building here in my garden. But I don't like the conditions under which you work as an architect. Always fighting for the money, you know, and
right. And you have your own, you run your own business this way. You have your own team that works with you. And you and Fredrika are a great, I think you guys are a great complement to each other. She has her things that she's the master of, kind of.
She's actually making all the stuff. I'm just a propaganda man.
Yes.
Okay, so she doesn't even allow me in the workshop. I'm not.
No.
I'm not tolerated. No, I can visit, but I'm not tolerated. They're starting to mess things up, you know.
So she's the alchemist, right?
Actually,
yes.
And so you ship Orgonite around the world, right?
Only about 10% in stays in South Africa.
Yeah, the only continent we haven't shipped to yet is Antarctica.
That's amazing.
And that's sad, because we don't know what's going on there and if it shouldn't be organized. You know?
They told me when I was in South Africa that I wasn't supposed to talk about Antarctica. So, because I was saying, oh, it's just a stone's throw across the water there.
Okay, it's quite far, but South Africa has a ship that goes there twice a year, I think, and they have a station. So
Yes.
I don't know. One person that I know has actually spent half a year with the South African.
How
mission.
interesting! How exciting! Yeah. So, a couple of things that are important here. I believe that many of us could really benefit from learning more about what Orgonite is, how it works, how we can make it ourselves, how we can use it in our homes to kind of lighten up and make more healthy our own lives, and help clear some of the electromagnetic pollution and that sort of thing, which is really, we have cell phones. Here I have a wonderful piece of Orgonite that you made on my cell phone that you gave me when I was in South Africa. And so we're going to see in some of your pictures that it actually makes a cell phone healthy to be around. And we know that our whole world has been kind of damaged with electromagnetic pollution, with these big machines such as HARP and CERN, which have sent out a lot of disturbing waves into the system for whatever reason is said that it's happening. And we want to restore the natural balance. And then you guys have also taken GANS of the plasma technology, and you've begun integrating that with your Orgonite, and you found that to even make more powerful Orgonite, right?
Yeah. Orgonite, we'll maybe later show some picture how it's made. It's basically a mixture of resin and metal filings with some added quartz crystals. And let me not go too deep into why it does that, but it seems to always enliven stagnating life energy. And now we call life energy, that we call it orgon. We believe, and even after attending your beautiful workshop, we felt very strongly that the effects and observations that are made with what you call in the Keshe world the plasma field and what we call orgon energy is very much the same. Okay.
Yes.
Obviously, we are in the same world, or or call it an illusionary world or not. It doesn't really matter.
Yes.
But it seems to obey to the same rules. So there is only one energy, and that we can call orgon or the ether. The interesting thing is that all civilizations that are worth being called a civilization have had a concept of an ether. The ether is a Greek word, obviously. And basically until the 1910s or 1920s, everybody was talking about an ether, which is kind of a pure substance, a substance that's there before any other thing materializes, okay? Or the French call it the élan vital. That's another word for life energy.
Nice.
Or the freedom. Now other physics theorists like Al Puthoff call it the quantum fluctuation. These are all models. Models that people have come up with to explain what we don't understand. I mean,
it's also, I think, called today the source field. The source field, plasma, plenum. Okay, good.
So I'm not claiming to understand how the universe works. Let's clarify that. But I can see connections between various theories that have come up historically. And the interesting thing is that I hear, and I cannot really say with certainty that it's true, but I hear that people are now getting Nobel Prizes in physics with ether theories again. Okay? Which means that they're coming back to this idea that there is a fluidum, a non-material or a pre-material substance, which is the medium in which the whole drama of matter is basically unfolding. Or some people would say the quantum fluctuation, say it's like like a sea of possibilities, and then certain things materialize. You know.
So it's almost like creation is continually emerging from the orgon or the plasma or the source field.
Orgon, you could call it the creative force, and the force that wants to express itself in ever more detail in some way.
And so again, let's go back to what Orgonite does to the orgon.
Orgon exists in a flowing state, which is the creative state, and it exists in a dammed up or blocked state, which is the death state. Okay, and Wilhelm Reich called that deadly orgon, or DOR, door. And when you look at the sky, you see when the sky is like blackish and looks oppressive, and your clouds look flat, like two-dimensional, almost like paper cutouts. That's a door-infested sky. Okay, and that results from a lot of things: atomic explosions, HAARP influence. All these things are producing door because they are putting out hard electromagnetic radiation, which kind of hammers the ether into a stagnant state. Okay, and that's actually what we believe is causing the cancer and the social dysfunctions and the mental blockage and all that.
Nice. And again, what does DOR stand for?
Deadly orgon, DOR, deadly orgon. So it's like you take the deadly orgon and you capitalize the D and the OR in these two words, and that's DOR.
Very good.
And then Wilhelm Reich called the positive state of it POR, P-O-R, positive orgon. And orgon is more like general, it's basically ether, or the ether in its neutral form.
Hey. So here we are. This is a picture from when I came to visit South Africa and came to teach. And anything you guys want to jump in on, go right ahead. That's GANS-VED, yes. We were
great success,
We were some of the first people who made those.
Mm-hmm.
That was really fun. So the
who's visible here in his purple shirt, he's using it in his
he's using it, and Tina is using it.
Nice. Good,
and
good.
They had also, quite some good healing success there.
Good.
Really viable.
There's the group. I felt like the people in Africa were so energized. It was really a fun group to be around, kind of doers. It's really fun. So here's some of you guys actually brought shungite, and we began making shungite GANS, which made a really beautiful GANS. The shungite has a hexagonal shape, which the nano-coated copper does also, and carbon does also. And the Keshe Foundation wouldn't call this their kind of GANS, but it's a GANS substance that we've all found a lot of benefit out of as far as students of this work and going out and experimenting in our own direction. If you guys want to say anything.
I think the shungite is closer to nano-coated graphene, which basically is a nano-coating. Because it has a very specific, a part of the molecules in the shungite are very specifically structured.
Yeah, that's called fullerenes.
Yeah. Nice.
It's actually a crystal grid that can be spherical or it can be like a pipe shape. Yeah. And these fullerenes are, people say they have kind of a quantum tunnel effect.
Nice.
And the interesting thing about shungite is it's basically carbon, but it's a highly compressed carbon. So it's basically somewhere between coal and diamond. Okay.
Do they not even know for sure if it's from Earth? It came in on an asteroid or something?
No, I think it is, but
I think it's a product of ice ages or something.
Yeah.
Because
it is found in Russia, near the Finnish border, in a region called Karelia. And it's also found somewhere in Afghanistan next to the Indian border or something.
Nice.
And it's basically carbon, but in a way special.
Special.
And the interesting thing is that in Russia it has become very popular in the alternative healing scene, which is quite big in Russia, by the way. And so people are making little pellets out of it and use them as protectors against cell phone radiation. And they make beautiful. Can you show the egg, for example?
Yeah, the egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we are not in the picture.
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, we're not in the picture.
Yeah.
So
What was that you said, Fredrika?
I got a Shungite egg in Russia when I was there in 2016. And they make little pyramids and also that's
They
very
even
popular.
use it in paint
And
for
they
the houses to protect for electromagnetic radiation.
Nice.
Powder
that-
and mix it in paint as a radiation protection. Yeah.
It's
Beautiful.
kind of mainstream in Russia that they use it.
Yeah.
Nice.
But quite popular, and it's not suppressed or blacklisted or anything.
Very
Yeah.
exciting.
Quite amazing.
Yeah. So we obviously that's a piece of that Shungite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
And because it's essentially carbon, we immediately thought when you said zinc and carbon, you know, we thought let's try the Shungite because it is essentially carbon. You know,
I
but
love
it may
it.
just infuse some of that special crystal grid structure information
Yes.
into the GANS.
And I have some here, and I use it also when I'm making GANs often. That's some of our GANs making process at the workshop, right? Nice. And the Shungite there in the middle.
Yeah, right.
These guys are working on power device sections, MAGRAV sections.
Yep.
And this, go ahead and tell us what this is.
That's ping pong balls that I injected with the GANS mixture that I made, and then sealed it with pieces of ping pong ball. But I found out that I can do that much easier. I'm using a syringe with a needle and squeeze in the GANS, and then I pull out, and I can just seal it with a piece of electrical insulation tape, basically.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so it's very simple to do.
Yes.
And the thing is just with when I put these things in the Orgonite, that it can't be hot. It must be a small amount of Orgonite to cure around the ball. So I basically make two halves and glue it together. And then
Right. So this is how you were putting the GANs into your Orgonite balls. And in the GANs,
then I have another one where I put little glass ampoules or glass
little
bottles,
tiny vials, little glass
vials.
vials.
Which come from actually the fabulous.
It's from our ginseng.
The Chinese ginseng concoction.
Oh, nice.
And I've always collected them, and then suddenly I realized, that's why I have collected
Brilliant. I love that. So you can put those inside the
those are, of course, much dirtier.
I must drink more ginseng. Eh?
Yeah.
You have to start again, because I'm getting low on bottles.
And so what kind of GANs are you putting into the vial inside
I just made that simple Shungite zinc GANs, and then I make 2 different batches, and I still have some from our workshop. I have some specialized plant GANs with magic mushroom or hemp oil or whatever we made there, and I add some of that to for special products.
Nice. So these are Orgonite balls with GANs.
The fireball.
Mm.
I decided to make it red because it's.
And so you were explaining to me earlier, you have molds that are like a little bowl, and then you do half at a time.
Yes.
Yeah, half spheres. Yeah.
Half spheres, and I put in actually in the beginning I used little stone balls or stone spheres to keep the space for the ping pong ball.
Mm-hmm.
And that works very well. And then I just glue it together with a little Orgonite, with a little resin, so that these 2 halves come together nicely.
Nice. So you must have to put them together right away, right? So that the liquid is.
Well, that I do last. I make these 2 halves with the cavities in, and then I put in the ping pong ball just a tablespoon of resin and stick it to this. That's basically how it works.
Beautiful.
But if you shake the thing next to your ear, you can hear the GANS inside.
Very good. Very, very good. I love it. So let's take a look at what Orgonite is and how this works in our world, and what George is Operation Paradise.
Yeah, Operation Paradise is actually the title of a book that I wrote, which is like a summary of our organ work. It's actually from 2007, so it's not really dated, but
is that the ebook that I have?
Yeah, I'm sure.
That can be gotten at your website. I love that book. It's so educational of how you use the Orgonite process, and
but basically the whole story in it. So yeah, because we can't really cover everything here, so people might just want to download that.
Yes.
An expedition to Namibia in 2004 and made it rain there like it's never rained there before since they've measured rainfall in 1880 or something. And we called it Operation Desert Rain in juxtaposition to Operation Desert Storm.
Good for you. And so let's just mention that because
it was the devastation of Iraq, under false pretenses.
Right, and a lot of kind of the mainstream news talks about, worries and concerns about there not being enough water on the planet. But one thing you've demonstrated with Orgonite is when we take Orgonite and we put it out around our lands and our communities, we literally bring in needed rain.
It seems that a lot of this electromagnetic weather modification, or some people call it electronic warfare, is actually directed at creating drought. And it seems that there's rarely an instance where we can say that the manipulation is leading to excessive rainfalls. That doesn't seem, unless they use it to create hurricanes and storms like that. That is obviously a lot of that extreme hurricane activity that we have seen lately, especially in the States, is also made.
I totally agree. I think it's manufactured disturbance.
No, and actually you can use Orgonite cloudbusters to deflate hurricanes.
And the same thing has been shown with plasma and GANS. They've completely protected properties and made an oasis where the hurricane devastated everything around it.
Yes. It shows that it actually works on the same.
Yeah, it affects the same ether, it's
yes. So this is a picture of Wilhelm Reich, and I know you've already been talking about him. Is there anything else you'd like to mention?
No, I think I've basically explained his role in pioneering role in first as a modern scientist, formulating a theory of life energy and ether.
Right.
For which he has obviously been expunged from the history of official science. Although he was a disciple of Sigmund Freud and a close associate and all that, and quite widely perceived in the 1930s to 50s. But he's almost been, it's a bit like Tesla, Tesla, to whom we owe the whole of our electric grid, because he created alternating current.
Right.
And yet everybody says Edison did it, Edison was a very unimportant person actually in the development of electricity.
Right.
He just barely invented the light bulb maybe, and he was a plagiarist of note, he was a very insignificant person actually, but everybody thinks that Edison kind of pioneered all the electricity that we have now.
Right, and really it was really it was Tesla. Okay, and when did Wilhelm Reich pass?
He died in detention a day before he was supposed to be released from federal prison in 1956.
Wow. In the United States. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. And he was in detention for
technical violations of stupid laws.
Right, right.
But obviously the the emerging medical establishment that was forming a harder and harder front, against. You must remember that in 1938, the Rockefellers bought all the independent medical schools and basically eliminated natural medicine from being taught in America. And that consolidation, when Wilhelm Reich was out of the way, they started consolidating the orthodox cancer industry.
Wow.
Because Wilhelm Reich was able to cure cancer effortlessly by just putting people in these energy boxes.
And so how is it that the Orgonite creates the positive Orgonite?
We can only offer some theories because we don't really know. But Wilhelm Reich originally experimented with layers of cardboard and metal in order to concentrate orgone energy in these boxes that he called orgone generators, orgone accumulators. Sorry. And he was putting people into these boxes, and then he built that up to 20 or 40 layers, alternating. And he found that organic material would absorb the energy, whereas metal would quickly attract and then repel it. It's like a ping pong. So he found that when he put these layers on top of each other, then it would concentrate the energy inside the box. And he did measurements. He found that even though there was no external source of heat, he could find that in these boxes there was 2 or 3 degrees above ambient temperature and so on. And he had remarkable cancer remissions of people. He put cancer patients in there in the late 1940s. And that's actually when his work got interestingly blocked by some very evil people in the United States. One of them is actually the main witness against him in court was actually Dr. Ewan Cameron, who is known as the father of MK Ultra. So a very evil psychiatrist. He's actually the role model for the nasty psychiatrist in the last Born movie, where he meets his programmer. I don't know if you remember or if you've seen that. There's one where he meets the guy who programmed him into that War Machine robot, and that guy is modeled on Dr. Ewan Cameron. So
the poor Mr. Reich was.
He was put in prison, on strange charges. They forbid him to make these orgone accumulators, and then when he did it, when he continued it because he thought they had no scientific valid reason to forbid him to do that, then he was basically gotten for violating certain trade laws and mail laws for cross-state border trade of this or that.
Why don't we jump into the slideshow and we can look at how some of all this works?
Yes, please.
With some pictures.
Before we get to the end of an hour and haven't seen a single picture.
Yeah. Okay, so this is, I think, a really neat picture. The orgone energy showing the radiance of healthy red blood cells.
One of the things that Reich did in order where he discovered orgone, because he was actually looking at cancer and he was studying the blood of healthy people and the blood of people with cancer, and he found that healthy people who are vital and brimming with positive energy, that you could actually see a blue sheen around their red blood cells. And that's when he started wondering, what is that blue? Is it electric? What is it? And that's how he actually started getting into this whole idea of orgone.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah.
So it's kind of showing that life force around the cell.
Yes. And he saw that cancer patients had a gray sheen, or not sheen, but a gray field around those blood cells. The healthy ones had a radiant blue one.
So they had lost their orgone life energy biofield.
And then he found that this blue sheen could be observed everywhere in nature, and that concentrated, and so on and so on and so on.
Beautiful.
It's a long story.
Beautiful, but such a good piece of information. We're going to go over a lot of things relatively quickly here, but I think these are all really important points. You know, and it would be, why do we want to have Orgonite around us? And I'm sure a lot of the plasma devices do the same things or do similar things, because I've seen, you know, pictures of that working. But why wouldn't we use these tools in our world if we can enhance our well-being, enhance our health, our life force, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, why would you not want to have, unless you have a death wish, you know, why would you not want to have it around? I cannot even see a reason.
Right. And so Wilhelm's son, Peter Reich, reports in his autobiography that this motor was constantly running at the back of Wilhelm Reich's car as a proof of concept. Interesting.
Yeah, but Wilhelm Reich never really ventured into the free energy application, although it's obvious that what, for example, Bedini is one of the more well-known free energy experimenters. They observe, you know, when free energy happens, they say it behaves different from normal electricity. They call it radiant electricity because it has a way of propagating, you know, and that's the same thing that people who have made successful magraphs also observe, that it's like an energy that comes somehow because it's anti-entropic.
Yes.
And the idea of entropy and disentropy, I want to quickly go into it, although it's very academic. Entropy is when you take, for example, a piece of wood and you burn it, okay? Then you create entropy because you are taking something that is complex, like the piece of wood with all its cellular structures and all that, and you make like a mineral dust out of it, which is called ash. So it's making something from a complicated, differentiated form into a simple form. That's called entropy. And that's how all our so-called science is working. That's how our combustion engines work, our atomic fission power plants, and all our chemical huff and puff things. You know, they're basically breaking down existing stuff and thereby liberating energy. And that's why things are often seen as not so very sustainable, because we're just down, okay?
And I say this a lot. We are dealing with entropic energy systems because they take
entropy is also not evil. Entropy is needed, you know. Things have to be born and then die, you know. But nature shows us this principle where you take something very simple, namely like water and some minerals that are in the soil, and you add a little seed, and that seed now organizes a whole tree to grow out of its whatever energy field or information field, or some call it a morphogenetic field or whatever. And now you see a force that's at work, which creates something beautiful and complex out of some very simple ingredients. And that is the unentropic force, or the disentropic, or you know, the life force basically at work. And so all the free energy, which is officially not possible because our science, so-called science, I would rather call it applied engineering, is stuck in this idea that only entropic processes can work. And they don't understand the other one. They don't understand life. So actually I remember at school when I was about 13 years old, we had a physics teacher who explained to us that the universe is like a big battery, which will eventually, because all the energy will be dissipated, and then it will be cold in the universe, and the universe will disappear. And I got so depressed because that is the idea of entropy, that there can only be entropy. But then where does this stuff come from? You know, why did we have a so-called Big Bang if we ever had one? I think that's just a fantasy of some very sick physicists. But
and the truth is, I think this idea of orgone energy, of plasma, of the source field, is that this life force is ever flowing. And when we make the so-called free energy devices, we're gathering or concentrating or pulling in that energy that's always flowing in the field, wouldn't you say?
The more we can get this going, I mean, that's why I was originally drawn to investigate cache, you know, and I went after that conference, Breakthrough Energy Movement in Holland in 2012. I went to actually see cache at the foundation there in Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, we didn't have much time to talk, and I found that he was using very complicated language, and I tried to read his book. I found it impossible.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, and that's why I jumped onto your beautiful workshop, because I said, okay, let's see how this stuff actually is done.
Right.
Because from his descriptions, it was rather making it more obscure than doable.
Right.
And for me, this workshop was just like an eye-opener, saying, oh my God, you know, this is just pretty much behaving very similar to what Orgonite does.
Beautiful.
You know? And it's relatively easy to make.
Yes.
It's not super rocket science, you know, and you don't need like tens of millions of grams, precise scales and stuff like that in order to get exactly the right concoction and what. But it's rather benevolent, error tolerant, simple to make, you know, and it has a life of its own.
Yes.
That is what I've noticed when we did that workshop, you know, that these things, these dances actually have a way of expressing their own individuality, you know.
The plasma field. And so you began seeing the correlation between the plasma and the plasma tools and devices and the Orgonite.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Orgonite is a very crude, you know, we have to be honest. Orgonite is a very crude thing. You just take these metal filings, you pour the resin in to fill all the gaps, and you stick some crystals in, and you've got it, you know. You know,
and I think the GANS and the pens that we make with the nano-coated copper, those are all very simple devices too. They're simple, but they're ways of expressing, of showing to us, of demonstrating to us. And as I was showing you the pictures in the ice just before we started recording, you know, we can literally see how these things are, I don't know that they generate a field, but they become an activator of how we concentrate this energy or how we use it to our benefit.
Yeah. People have also made very similar pictures with ice and Orgonite. So the interesting thing, for example, it forms kind of stalactites, you know, so the ice actually comes out of the bowl and grows towards the Orgonite.
Nice.
And stuff like that. So I don't know if you can show these one or two of your beautiful Taurus.
So this is a nano-coated copper health pen, we call it, and showing the torus field that it pulls in, just frozen in this cup of water underneath it, which is amazing. And the plasma particles, and you can almost literally see like a little tornado here too. You can see that spinning motion. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. That's the nicest one.
Yeah, that is the nicest one. And then I was going to just show this top too, which is how Mark makes the center of a labyrinth, that it just really helps make this beautiful energy. And this is a different health pen that I made with showing the field in a little bit different way. And then you guys have over there, let's stop sharing. Yes.
So let me show you a coil. Can you see it?
Yes, very nice.
So that coil, we call it an SBB coil because somebody in the Orban movement, like more than 10 years ago, made a thing called the Send Busters button. Okay. People are very creative with names. So the Send Busters button, and that's in short now SBB, okay? SBB. And it has that thing of turning the energy inwards and then outwards again. And it's got that labyrinthine S-curve in the middle.
Yes.
And we use that in most of our pendants and some other healing devices.
Food charging plate.
And all kind of other things.
So have you guys started nano-coating those by any chance?
Not yet. But
it'd be interesting to try freezing one of
Some
those
guy
nano-coated above ice and one not nano-coated.
We have a guy who's perfected this nano coating, so we'd rather probably go to him. And,
Yeah, the problem is that you need a bit of space and
the right
time
kind of
and
vessels. And
yeah, it's a bit. If you want to make a lot, you know, that's the point. I mean,
Right.
it's not just one or two. If you make it, then you need
Right.
slightly more.
Yeah.
So we're working on that.
Cool.
But it will be very interesting. And that guy, maybe you remember him from the workshop, Louis. He was the one who also had that spinning tennis ball. And
Yes.
very good inventor.
Mm-hmm.
And he also makes some tiny nano-coated rings in the GANS solution, in a vacuum pack. And that is already so powerful. So he's really very good with that.
Nice. So exciting. I love hearing how people are just experimenting different places.
He made some very nice products.
He was amazing. He had already made some devices, I think, before he came to the workshop too.
He's really good.
Cool. So we'll go ahead to the next screen. So the classic Wilhelm Reich Cloudbuster. And what do you want to tell us about this?
Okay, the classic Wilhelm Reich Cloudbuster is also not using Orgonite. It is just an array of pipes that was grounded with a very strong woven cable to a water body. And what it does is the pipes are going into resonance with the sky, with the atmosphere, and it's drawing the stagnant energy off. So it's creating movement. And then later the Orgonite Cloudbuster used that principle of the pipes going into resonance, but combined it with the Orgonite idea of a base in which there is that mixture of resin and metal filings, in order to not just only bring the energy to flow, but actually to convert it, to transform it. That's the thing that differentiates Orgonite from the Wilhelm Reich technology. The Wilhelm Reich technology is not, Wilhelm Reich did not invent Orgonite. We must not ever, say that, because it's not true. The Orgonite as such was invented in the 1970s by an experimenter called Karl Welz. He's an American of Austrian descent. And he made this, was the first one to make this.
And would you say he was using Wilhelm Reich's principles when he made?
He was inspired by him. That's why he called it Organite. And he was mainly using it for the purpose of radionics. So he made like machines to transmit intention and things like that, to boost the performance of sportsmen and businessmen and so on. And actually, I came across him even before I met Don Croft. And he was able, for example, he had a little experiment on the internet where he was energizing a cymbal. So he had an organ generator set up in his house or in his studio or wherever he worked from. And he said, listen, print this out and then hold your hand on top of it. And it was actually a symbol created by Wilhelm Reich. And you could feel the warmth of the energy in your palm. By transmitting this energy non-locally. Okay, so he already anticipated this whole non-locality and energy at a distance and
interesting.
And mixing it with intention, you know, which leads to the question of manifestation and distant healing and all these kind of.
So so if somebody wanted to read about how to make one of these Wilhelm Reich, I know you make other kinds of cloudbusters today, right? So
I think you should rather then go to James DeMio, for example. He's published stuff on that.
Okay. And how do you spell that?
DeMio, D-E.
And
then new word, M-E-O.
Okay. D-E-M-U-O. M-E-O. DEMEO, DEMEO.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
DeMeo is kind of a guy who's helped to rediscover and publicize the original work of Wilhelm Reich.
Okay,
But he's also a bit stuck in orthodoxy, so he's actually hating the whole Orgonite community to bits.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks we're all dabbling with things that we shouldn't be dabbling with, and that orgon energy should only be handled by specialists, you know, and what.
Right. Yeah.
So we've lost patience with him, but I'm not saying that he hasn't published valuable material.
Okay, good. Well, that's good to know.
He's only stuck in a certain way in an orthodoxy, but
right. And so this is one of Reich's orgon accumulators that he put people in to make them more
helpful. It's a rebuild by a German Wilhelm Reich enthusiast called Joachim Trittin.
Okay.
But it's the original Wilhelm Reich concept.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And so what makes the accumulator work?
It's what I said earlier. It's the layering of metal and non-metallic organic material.
So even though Wilhelm Reich didn't come up with Orgonite, Orgonite is still made from the metal and the organic material.
Wilhelm Reich was typically using cardboard or hardboard or even cotton wool or things like that, which are organic. We are using in Orgonite, we are using resin, and a lot of people find it counterintuitive because it's a polymer resin based on mineral oil. But chemically spoken, it's organic, obviously. Not organic in the sense that you want an apple to be organic, you know, but organic in this organic actually in chemistry means a carbon-based molecule.
Nice.
And this works in a certain way very powerfully, you know, and people
for instance, when we make GANS and we make it in a plastic container, Mr. Kesh says that's good because you're taking the carbon from the plastic container. And people say, oh, no, I don't want to use plastic. But I think it's an understanding in the same sense that you're talking about. These molecules, when they interchange with each other, they begin giving what is needed to be given, basically.
No, the polyester resin is actually working very well, and it's long chain molecules, and it has a way also of it's the only thing that can really encase the metal filings. People have tried beeswax and all kinds of things, but it's a lot weaker. You know, it works in principle, but it's a lot weaker, and you cannot use it for the environmental gifting that we do because you want these things to persist. You don't want it to melt away. Right. When the sun shines on it, you know, you want it to be lasting, and that's why you need to use elastic material. Polyester resin works very well. Epoxy resin also works, and modified and enhanced tree resins also work. But don't be fooled; they also have a lot of chemistry in them. And they are very, very expensive, and we want this to remain a affordable way, you know, of people transforming their environment. Right. So you want to be able to mass produce it at very low cost. Nice. If somebody wants to try tree resin with modified hardeners and what have you for personal devices, it's fine, you know, but you can't really mass produce stuff and gift our continent. And we're going to look a little more at why we're mass producing things. We're going to look at some of your results here. So let's zip through this. And how about Don Croft? Well, Don Croft is now basically the real founder of the modern Orgonite movement. And that is, so he's been studying Wilhelm Reich, and he's stumbled across what Carl Welz was doing, and he put these things together. He put the Orgonite in a bucket and he stuck the pipes in there. Nice. And you see that on the bottom right there. And this simple act of confluence, you could say, of two different ideas, is what created the whole Orgonite community, movement, whatever you want to call it. Don doesn't like to call it a movement because a movement sounds like it has a leader, and there is no leader. There is actually
Right.
just thousands of experimenters who work.
You know, and what we might look at too is our world has become more complex. The disturbances have become more complex. And so, you know, people have taken these discoveries and moved along in a direction with something. They listened to their intuition and their everything they had learned and put it together. And for it says here, Don combined massive Orgonite blocks with copper pipes and crystals and got astounding results. So we're going to look at a little bit at what those results are, that we can see the changes in clouds. We can see rain come in.
And he also discovered that with smaller organ devices, and there are two important ones for environmental organ gifting. One is the maybe you will find the picture soon. The what we call the holy hand grenade.
Yeah, she has one. She can show.
Oh yeah, here's one. Here's one.
Yes.
Okay. So that conical little thing, that was the next invention of John Croft. This conical shape, he called it the holy hand grenade after Monty Python's Holy Grail.
That is so cute.
A lot of concepts about the holy hand grenade and this and that. I'm not such a Monty Python expert, but for some people that's very familiar. And he stuck 5 crystals into this cone. So one is pointing to the top and 4 are on the bottom pointing outwards. And what it does is basically it directs the energy. So it draws the energy in from the top in whatever state it is, and then it makes it nice and beautiful, and then it dissipates it widely horizontally, basically.
It's beautiful. I don't know if I can't remember if I can be seen right now, but if I can, I have one here that you guys made that I love.
And these things are powerful. I mean, because we use Orgonite in order to neutralize the negative effects of cell phone towers.
And what would you do with this holy hand grenade?
Just place it somewhere nearby. It's just, it doesn't even matter. I mean, the HHG or holy hand grenade, you would love to have it upright. You don't want to just throw it out of a car.
Right.
You want the top crystal to face up and the bottom ones to be horizontal. But the other one, the Tower Buster, which came later, I think maybe it's the next picture. I don't know if you...
Yes.
There we are. The left one. We've actually started calling the rough ones here on the left side. We call them Dirty Harrys.
Dirty Harrys. I love it.
Shoot first, ask
questions later. Exactly.
And so what do you do with these?
You throw them out of a car window when you see a cell phone tower on the highway and you can't even get there very close, even if it's a few hundred meters away, it will still work. Even if it's further away, you can just throw a bit more, you know. And we have thrown about 25,000 in southern Africa of these.
That is amazing.
And seen large-scale weather changes. So we use them to neutralize cell phone towers. Any source of negative radiation. It can be a massive power plant, high-tension power lines, nuclear power plants.
Wow.
We put them in water bodies as well, because we did that tour in 2004 of Namibia, which is largely a desert country, which we called Operation Desert Rain, because it had been experiencing extreme drought. And because that country is at that time, very undeveloped and very thinly populated.
Only 1.6 million people.
There's only 1.6 million people on the size of a country like France.
Yes.
And so we didn't even find enough cell phone towers to gift. So what we started doing was to just plop one into every dry riverbed.
So we're talking about the Dirty Harrys, and you take it from Namibia?
Basically, we call them our universal, I call it the universal ammunition of the organ warrior. Okay. So
and tell us a little more about that, George, because What is the Orgon Warrior? Why would
The
we
Orgon
want to be
Warrior is
putting
somebody
Orgonite
who-
around the world?
The Orgon Warrior is somebody who sees this as a kind of worldwide phenomenon where you got electromagnetic manipulation, call it weather warfare, whatever you want to call it. So the difference between somebody who's just embellishing their home with some beautiful Orgonite pieces and making it energetically nicer, and an Orgon Warrior is that the Orgon Warrior wants to do something on the scale of a country or of a continent. And yeah, so there's actually a forum called Etheric Warriors that is pretty much Don Croft and a few other guys who are working with him.
And so the point is the Orgonite can help clear up and restore the natural spirals of earth energy.
And counteract a massive onslaught of negative energy worldwide.
And do we have any thoughts on why that onslaught of negative energy has been happening? Without getting too in detail?
I think we're getting too deep in, that could be a whole evening on its own.
On its own, it could be a whole subject.
But it seems to be such that the so-called elites that are controlling affairs on our planet are thriving on the idea of control, and their agenda seems to necessitate this kind of subdued and negative state of energy in order to work. But how that links in with their various occult principles and this and that, I think we can do a whole evening.
We can do that in another conversation, but here the idea is, and we know even just a public issue is that 4 and 5G networks are disturbing to people's thinking, they're making people be more stressed. So how can we restore the spirals of natural energy that are being disrupted by constant cell phone radiation, big tower radiation?
Interesting thing, coming back to your beautiful pictures of toroidal vortices that you had with your healing pen and the water. Every cell phone tower is creating a toroidal field, but it's a negative field. And people who are sensitive to auras and who can actually visually perceive that see the output of a cell phone tower as a kind of like a flat gray melon from afar, okay? And that melon is actually, in truth, it's actually a toroidal field, because you see it as flat on top and flat on the bottom, but it's actually toroidal.
Do you think it's spinning the opposite direction, or?
That I don't know, but what I know is that it looks like anthracite colored, and it has sort of gray veins in it. Okay, that's how a person whose profession it is to read auras explained it to me.
So they're seeing this kind of a gray rather than a healthy color.
Yeah, and now the thing is, when you put one of these simple, crude, dirty Harrys within 500 meters of such a normal cell phone tower, you will see that this field is now becoming suddenly colorful.
Wow! So one of those little green Orgonite,
it interacts with the field of the tower.
Within 500 meters of the tower?
500 meters, it's still effective.
Wow.
Although you'd want to put it closer, but you don't have to. Sometimes you can't, because that tower might be at the top of a skyscraper. And
that's a great piece of information.
Is maybe a little piece of public green where you can sort of scratch it into the soil under a bush somewhere, and that might be the closest you can ever get, and you can be confident it will work.
And the reason you would scratch it into the soil under a bush might just be so somebody doesn't pick it up and carry it away.
Exactly, because you could just put it down there, but if it's like, I'm just imagining New York, for example.
Right.
Where there's barely any green, but you still want to do something, and then you've got little parks here and there where you can put something, and then you might find other hiding places. It might be It might be a stormwater gully. It might be a I don't know, somewhere on a canopy roof. You know, you could,
Right.
if you find the unobserved moment, you could flick it onto the top of a roof and leave it lying there. You know, but you won't be able to always get very close, and you don't have to worry too much about that. What we also found is that sometimes these towers are standing on mountain tops, you know, and in the beginning, when I was doing these trips with my family, I was so eager to always get on top of these mountains, and it was like horrible for them, you know, because
Right.
often hours later, you know, after many detours and locking and unlocking farm gates and this and that, you were still not there, or maybe sometimes you got there or not close enough or whatever. We realized that as we were also making more of this Orgonite, you know, in the beginning we might have had 30 Orgonite pieces in our car and planned a big trip. Later we would never go without at least 500, you know, to make it
Right.
count, you know, or 1,000, you know, for the bigger expeditions we would take 1,000, you know, and then or more. And then we found out also using a pendulum and some other intuitive help that you could replace proximity with quantity. So if you couldn't get close, you could lay out a string, for example. You know, for example, if you found these things on a mountaintop and you couldn't get there, you would just go on the street
Right.
where you could see them and just throw one out every 250 meters or something like
Nice.
that. You know, if you could find a side road that goes at an angle off that main road, you would want to triangulate that side, you know, and put 5 on the one side of the triangle and 5 on the other side.
Okay.
So we found that, you know, we started using a pendulum, for example, and just asking it, is 5 enough? Then the pendulum says yes or no, you know, or must I put 7? No, that way we would approximate something, and I'm using these techniques without putting too much, how can I say, you know, I'm not saying it's definitely true, but it helps. It helps
Right. And so the prettier ones, the colored ones that are smoother, those are more just to use around your house.
That's the idea, that you put them on your windowsills or next to your...
And how many might you put around your house? How many do you think you'd put around a house?
We've got a basic recommendation where we say if you have a freestanding house on a garden plot, you would want to put one in every corner of that plot.
Okay.
That can be one of the Dirty Harrys. Doesn't have to be pretty. You would want to put one at your main water pipe where it comes into the house.
Okay.
So before it branches out into all the different smaller pipes that go to bathrooms or whatever, you know, so try and get it attached as close as possible to the main water pipe. Another one you would want to put into your electrical DB board, and that's that is your basics. You know, that basically. Then I would still want to say, have a nice one like a HHG or a gold and lapis pyramid or something that looks nice on your coffee table or in your something there. That's the gold and lapis pyramid, for example.
Yes,
you know?
it's really nice.
Got lapis lazuli in it, and I'm going to talk about other healing stones now as well that we put into our...
So let me just ask, when you said the electrical box, did you mean, would you put one on top of the meter? I think we had one for a smart meter in Florida. And then...
Yeah, the smart meter thing that we made has, what is it?
Tourmaline and Shungite.
Okay. And would you put one in the breaker box also, or just put something on top of your meter?
You can never do too much. You could put the Dirty Harry in the circuit breaker box. That's what we call a DB board here in South Africa.
Call it the what?
We call it a DB board.
DB board. Distribution board. Okay, good. Nice.
Yeah, you put a breaker box, makes sense also. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that from being there and hearing people using those terms. And then the...
We don't really have the smart meters that much. They are trying to push it.
You're lucky.
We have mostly the old-fashioned analog meters, which are harmless.
Right.
In that case, it's enough to just put a simple Dirty Harry in the breaker box, as you call it.
Okay.
If you have a smart meter, that is now a a cell phone antenna on its own. Okay, that is basically a microwave transmitter.
Wow.
And you would want to put an Orgonite there. Ideally, the smart meter one that we make, but you
Smart
can
meter shield,
the smart meter shield. But even if you don't have one, a simple Dirty Harry will go a long way.
Okay. And then this earth pipe that we see in this picture on the right.
The earth pipe was actually developed as a supplement, because now we've got the Orgonite cloudbuster, we've got the Holy Hand Grenade, the clone.
Let's go back
And
to
we've
that
got-
one. Well, go ahead.
And we've got the Dirty Harry. That's the essential tools that were subsequently developed by Don Croft. And
Let's just go back. I was trying to get back. So this is the cloudbuster is
derivative from that. You know, it's these are the basic ones. And you could say the earth pipe is maybe the fourth primary tool, because it was actually it came up as an idea when people became aware of underground bases and stuff that's happening underground.
right.
It could be alien stuff, it could be military stuff, secret stuff, whatever.
So how
If it's-
long is that tube?
That tube, I mean, you can make it in different. This one is like a foot.
And then does it
long.
have Orgonite inside of it?
Yeah, but it's not fully filled. It is
Okay.
hollow. 2/3 of it is hollow,
Okay.
and 1/3 is filled with Orgonite. So the idea is, again, like with a cloudbuster, that you have a cavity that resonates.
Right. And then would you
So-
put the Orgonite side down or up?
No, the hollow side is down.
Hollow side
Because
down.
you want to infuse the earth side, the downside, with that energy.
Okay.
So
Cool.
the hollow side is actually being filled up with soil as you hammer it in.
Okay.
Sometimes, if it's very rocky ground, you have to drill. You know?
And what do
So
you think about people who are working with plasma energy? I mean, would you put plasma inside of any of these?
You could. I mean, for the Dirty Harrys, for example, it would be probably too expensive or too labor intensive, and then indirectly too expensive to do
Right.
that with each.
Because the
one of
idea
them.
is you're wanting, as we'll see in a couple of minutes on your map, we're wanting to get a lot of these out in a region. So we want to just make them fast. Like dirty.
What we found, I mean, that's now the new thing with, since the plasma has come in, that we find that we can get these weather results with a lot less footwork. You know, we may have to put out a lot less of these power busters if we put one powerful device with the Orgonite combined with the plasma water, for example.
Nice. Very good.
Seems like that. You know, I don't want to say we don't have to do it anymore, but it seems that, you know, also as we are getting older and we don't want to drive up and down so like crazy everywhere and go up this mountain and that mountain, you know, you tend to want to get a simple solution that, you know, kills all with one strike, basically.
Yes.
And that's where the new GANS and Organite combination comes in.
And what would you do with these little pyramids?
The pyramids are very much like the HHGs. They've got the same structure. They've got a crystal pointing up. They've got the 4 crystals in the bottom forming a cross and pointing outwards. And they are doing essentially the same as an HHG, but they look nice. And there is a certain subtle influence from the shape of the pyramid. I wouldn't want to overstate that. A lot of people get very excited and they ask if it's exactly the ratio of phi or of the The truth is, we have to take the molds as they are being mass produced for bakery and patisserie, you know, and you just take what you.
Nice.
It's quite close to the original pyramid, but it's not really the point. You know, the point is that the Orgonite on its own already works very powerfully. Sacred geometry aspect too much, you know, because some people go overboard with that and make it complicated again. But there is, as you say, there is something about this, why we are using 4 and not 3.
Right.
Or why, for example, do we use 6 pipes on a cloudbuster and not 5 or 7?
Right. Let's look at the cloudbuster just for a quick second.
Cloudbuster just wants to be a hexagon, you know, and
but it relates to the quartz crystal.
It has
Relates
also
to what?
The quartz crystal is hexagonal.
Okay. The hexagonal and the shungite is hexagonal, right?
Yes, lots of crystals are actually
Hexagonal. And so you have 6 pipes, and what are the smaller pieces of pipe for? Do they go down or?
That's just basically because of the way you make it. You
Okay.
put those shorter ones into the bucket where you fill it up with metal filings and then with resin. So you have these templates there to hold them in these spades.
Oh, gotcha.
To hold them in the bucket in their position.
Right.
And then you fill that up with resin metal mix.
Right.
And in each of the short pieces, each one has a bottom cap. So they're all closed on the bottom with copper. And they all have a quartz crystal, a double terminated, meaning tips in 2 directions.
Right.
Of approximately 2 inches wide, long, which can be embedded in resin, or it can be put in a Don Croft used to recommend. I'm not sure if he's still doing it that way. Just to take a piece of garden hose and wrap the lower end of the crystal and then glue it in.
Okay.
But there's different ways. Basically, you just want to have that crystal fixed in that bottom end of the pipe.
Okay. Good. Good.
That crystal actually forms you could say an amplifier or a transmitter between the mass of the orgonite and the hollow cavity that goes into resonance with the atmosphere.
Okay. And what would you
works like as a transfer piece between these 2 things.
Okay. And if you were going to compare where you would use a cloudbuster as opposed to, say, Dirty Harry's?
I say you need infantry and artillery always. So,
okay.
Meaning that you need to cover the ground to neutralize at least 70% of all cell phone towers in an area. And then the cloudbuster will really come into its full potential.
Right. And I'm reading here that it can also help, it's called a chembuster because it can help dissolve chemtrails. Yeah. And that it converts atmospheric DOR into POR and improves natural rainfall, fertility, and well-being over a large area.
Now, you see now the dissolving of chemtrails is very difficult to understand for somebody who's stuck in conventional physics.
Yes.
Because how can it do that now? Because there's some chemical substances that are polluting the atmosphere and creating these weird polarized halos around the sun and all kinds of nasty things.
Right.
And you put a cloudbuster up and you organize an area and they disappear. There's actually a blog that I want to link in my next email. A lady I think from California posted that. And she has actually done measurements where in a highly organized area where there are several cloudbusters and lots of small pieces gifting the area, they found that there was significantly less aluminum and other residue on the ground. Okay?
I love it. I love it.
So it's not because some people have said to us, no, listen, if you dissolve these chemtrails, then probably the whole shit comes down. And now we're really getting problems. Okay, so there's always these people who come up with a fear-based argument and say, but what if, But
and and instead I would probably take it and say we're literally converting molecular structure, so to speak.
It's cold fusion.
Cold fusion, okay. Right.
Cold fusion or low energy nuclear reactions.
Yes.
Now these guys are saying that in low energy nuclear reactions or cold fusion, elements become transmuted.
Right, so, exactly.
For example, copper can be transmuted into gold because they're very close.
Exactly. And we see the same thing with plasma, having that kind of action.
Exactly. And we seem to be creating alchemy in the sky.
Yes. So it seems to me it would be wonderful to put plasma in a cloudbuster.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing. And yes, no, that's what we're doing. And there's one, and when I said earlier, the new lazy approach, okay?
Yes.
Because, we've been doing this now for 15, 16 years.
Yes.
And like you feel almost like a janitor in your country. You're
Yes.
kind of like,
Yes.
whenever there's a drought, people say, George, why haven't you done anything?
Yes.
Or stop still working, or
That's
and,
amazing.
and you feel almost like held at your collar, geez, it's like your responsibility to keep this country clean and free of.
Well, what a reputation to have when you started out as an architect and now you're considered the guy who keeps the air and the air cleaned up and the good water coming in.
Obviously, we have to be honest, it's by some. Okay.
And you know what? It is such a testimonial to just what one life can do, or one family's life. You guys if every person will just listen and do the work that's in their soul to do, we will change this thing. Yeah. Through cold fusion, through alchemy of elements.
It's difficult to document this, but I've seen this happening so often, and the experience of gifting when you do a large area and you see how the sky is changing as you move along, as you put these things out. It's just actually exhilarating. It's an extreme way of enjoying yourself, and here you see some before and after pictures, which is amazing. Yeah.
Yes. So talk about the before, which is kind of more that it looks a little bit more like a Brillo pad or something like that.
So you can see here on top there, it's the same site, photographed from afar before we did anything, and you can see the sky actually looks almost two-dimensional. That's typically the case when there's a lot of electromagnetic interference. And then in this second before picture, you can already see, because we've been approaching that site and we've been putting things out, but not yet at the site. Okay, but you can already see a change, whereby the flatness now becomes kind of obviously rippled, and that ripple effect is clearly the electromagnetic fields that come from that transmitter side. So from the flatness, as the Orgonite starts working on the energy in the sky, you can see that the ripples become more obvious. So it becomes clearly visible, and then it transforms. So if you go, the third picture is not really visible because there's your picture in front. And I can change it. But it's
more fluffy.
But the positive energized sky is lovely cumulus clouds.
You can see it in the one below. You can see it going.
You can simply say if it looks nice, then it is nice.
Yes, that's nice.
So here on the bottom, you see as we approach a site with some massive cell phone tower in a rural area, that's long distance transmission towers and this and that. You see before, after. You see that kind of slimy sky, and that's only 20 minutes between the two pictures.
That is amazing. And what did you put out in that picture?
How the fluff is forming there, and that's becoming even more articulated. So a positively energetic sky is actually articulated clouds.
And what did you put out in between those two pictures?
Not much, maybe 2 Dirty Harrys, maybe 3.
That is incredible.
Yeah. Maybe we put an HHG, what we always do, because we're selling the stuff also, and a lot of these things don't come out the way that we want to send them to our customers. We call them rejects, because there's a lot of rejects. So we always have some boxes of rejects standing around.
Nice.
And we can use it for our own trips.
I was lucky enough to get some of your rejects when I was in South Africa, and I treasure them.
Rejects, I don't remember. But here you can see some amazing happenings in the sky. And they actually look like there would be violent winds and some, but it's completely silent. This transformation of the sky is happening in complete silence. That was actually a trip to Uganda with Don Croft in 2003 or 2004.
Yeah.
And you can see this energy flare here. And then you can see as the sky is breaking open, on top there's another layer of chemtrails.
Yes.
And these are also sort of starting to ripple up, and then they transform. That's all the three pictures on top are happening in one day. I think I had a little motor scooter there.
That's
And I was
incredible.
riding along in a rural area, putting out 20 or 30 Dirty Harrys in an area of 20 kilometers around, something like that.
Nice.
The one on the bottom is also amazing, although my photography there was rudimentary. It was a very cheap little camera that had only 340 pixels or something. And you can see an energy vortex there on the bottom left. That was a site of some big fat cell phone towers on a hilltop, kind of cordoned off. You couldn't get on top of it, and we only had a chance to get about 2 kilometers from it on one side and 2 kilometers from it on the other side.
Wow.
A small pyramid or an HHD. I think a pyramid on one side and an HHD.
Wow.
And then we got this vortex coming on top of that mountain.
Beautiful.
Also it looks like a tornado, but it's happening completely silently because it's an utterly energetic process. It's not wind that forms this.
So a lot of times do the people have an awareness that you are doing this around them or not really?
No, I don't think so. Although the nasty boys have it, because we got apprehended twice. We spent some significant time in prisons, actually.
Wow. That is amazing. So that's beautiful. It's so beautiful you guys are doing this, and that there's quote unquote warriors doing this around the world. Now, in these situations, would you be burying things, or you're just tossing them or setting them out?
Depends on the environment. If it's wild bush vegetation, savanna, you can just toss them because there's no chance that anybody would ever pick it up. You see, there's a beautiful sequence again of before and after. You can see this is a radar site in a town called Tete in Mozambique. And radar is concentrated microwave, so it's doing very much the same as a cell phone tower.
Kind of like turning the sky into mud, so to speak.
Yeah, you can see that muddy sky in the beginning. Then you can see how, and that's also very typical, you can see how in the second picture, how the electric field structure becomes exposed. As the organ starts working, it's almost like it's taking away the mud and exposing the field structure. And then it starts fluffing up. So that next picture is already starting to open. And the fourth picture, the left on the bottom, you can already see a huge blue hole.
Yes.
From that mountain, and it's actually all around. I mean, I can't really photograph that.
Gorgeous.
But it's all around. It's a blue hole with towering cumulus cloud all around. And that is all within less than half an hour. And then you can see a rainy sky forming. As we were driving off, so I don't know if it was maybe 45 minutes, maximum an hour. And as we drove off, we had the rain on our windscreen.
Wow, that is incredible.
And it was not in the rainy season, because we have quite pronounced rainy seasons there. In Mozambique, for example, it's typically summer rain, and this was winter. This was like you see the date print. It's 1407, so it was July.
Yes,
that is the dry winter season on it.
Gorgeous, though. What a great transformation. And so the fact that these towers are making the sky kind of muddy and disturbing the natural flow of energy up there means they're also inhibiting rainfall that should take place, right?
Oh, yeah. They don't seem to ever enhance rainfall. So most of the time they're part of creating drought.
Yes.
Here you can see a documentation of a drive into a very dry desert area in the Kalahari. And I think the sequence is about 40 kilometers and 2 hours or something, because you couldn't drive very fast there. or dirt roads. So you can see a gray sky like the ones before. Because we have already done something, you see the first little cumulus cloud.
Yes.
Yeah? So it's like out of nowhere, suddenly this thing appears. Then in the second picture, there's that same one, and there are already 2 or 3 seeds of new ones.
Yes.
It gets more and more and more. And then in the fourth picture, bottom left, you see a thing that we call sylphs. They are, some people say they are energetic beings or beings or something.
Yes.
They often appear when we do these kind of tours. You know, they
Beautiful.
sometimes get kind of interesting shapes that could be seen as angelic. Or sometimes they look like butterflies or some, you know, but they are energetic forms in the sky.
Nice.
So this is just basically one trip driving straight into the desert, you know, and tossing the thing out every 2 or 3 kilometers, preferably in dry riverbeds. And that's a technique we developed in Namibia.
Beautiful. I love it. Into dry riverbeds.
Yeah, because the water is a conductor of energy.
Right.
So if you want to energize a large area, and obviously you don't want to go everywhere, otherwise you would need a helicopter or
Right.
I don't know, like a whole squadron of helicopters.
Yes.
If you can just only stay on the main roads, but you can toss one in every dry or even flowing riverbed that you cross.
Gorgeous.
You're already using the landscape with that energy, because the dry riverbeds still have a water vein underneath.
Nice.
You know, it may not be surface water, but there's always underground water following that dry riverbed.
Nice. And then those clouds are beautiful, the real clouds and the blue sky.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, when the sky low, that's sylphs. That's these feathery beings, as I said to you.
Did you want to finish on this one? Did you have something else?
No, that's fine. I think
Okay.
I covered everything.
Yes, those are beautiful.
Yeah. That's what I just mentioned, those
Yes.
that
Very
sometimes
nice.
greet us when we do a lot. Now here's another way to prove that Orgonite actually works, and a lot of people have done experiments with plant growth. This is from a magazine called Strange Days, and the experiment was conducted by Mark Bennett. Sprouting stuff with and without Orgonite. Here you see some seedlings with and without, and so on. So people have done that. People have done flower bed with and without to compare. And if you take the next picture, I can show you an experiment that we have done. That was trying to make it really kind of quantifiable, scientific, so to say, where we took 2 cell phones and radiated a sample of 1 liter of water. And we did that with the cell phone without Orgonite and with Orgonite. And then we took a third sample of tap water to compare. And on the bottom, you see 3 pictures of the result. That was after 5 days of sprouting chickpeas. And we sprouted them under otherwise completely identical conditions. They were standing next to each other on the kitchen counter, same light, same temperature, same procedure. You know, the intervals of washing and pouring the water. So they were treated exactly the same. The one that was exposed to the radiated water,
which is the upper left, it's the water with cell phones without any Orgonite. That's the first bowl.
That is resulting in the measly little sample there on the bottom, which came out slimy and underdeveloped. You don't see any green shoots, and the stuff was already going off and becoming a bit rotten.
Yes.
Although in the beginning it shot quite quickly, and I was almost afraid that it would prove the opposite of what I wanted to prove. But it only shot out for a day or so, and then it started going off and rotting. The neutral sample from tap water came out okay, but not spectacular, and the one with the organized radiation, which actually proves that the Orgonite is
Changes everything.
changing
So
the
those are the
field,
cell phones in the lower left with Orgonite on them, like my phone here.
yes. And
Those,
we were making these two phones call each other for half an hour.
oh, how funny. And then
Yeah.
and that water grew the sprouts on the right, which were, oh no,
Yes.
the untreated tap water's on the right. And
No, the untreated tap water's in the middle.
oh, it is. That's okay.
Oh, no, you're right,
Ah,
you're
yeah,
right,
okay.
you're right, you're right,
Yeah.
you're right, you're right.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's,
yeah, no, you're right. The organ sample is in the middle.
Yes.
but it was still more.
It came out more biomass and nicely developed sprouts.
Yeah, it looks like really nicely developed sprouts.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sitting here with my
So
headphones on
as
going,
you
I
can
want
see
Orgonite on my headphones. I mean, it's just like, I feel like, you know,
Yeah.
and we do the same thing with plasma water with GANS as well. You know, we're seeing similar results. So I love the idea of combining these things too.
Yeah, absolutely. They work in the same direction.
Yes.
I've put on this slide. I've put a picture from Emoto here with his
Right.
water sample.
Yes.
Because indirectly we are also proving that Emoto is right.
Yes.
Because we're saying that the water is transmitting this energy quality.
Yes.
You know, and we're showing that with these different samples. So
Yes.
basically also taking Emoto's work a little bit to
Yes.
different.
Beautiful.
Yeah, as you have done with your vortex pictures.
Yes.
This is a darkroom photography of an HHG showing that it actually has an aura.
Yes.
I'm not sure what technology was used, if it was a UV sensitive film or if it was a real Kirlian camera. I'm not 100% sure, but this was made in a dark room.
That's amazing.
And it shows that glow of something around the shape of that HHG.
Nice.
Now, the other thing that on our trips in Africa, we have connected to a lot of traditional healers and always found them very sensitive and positive to that energy. So that's also why we have at some point started combining African traditional medicine with our Orgonite, because we found that the Orgonite can carry those subtle vibrations of the herbal medicines, for example. It can also carry the subtle energy vibrations of other healing stones. You know,
So do you add you add healing stones? Do you add herbs or anything to
yes,
your Orgonite?
we have a range of Orgonite that we call Muti Orgonite, because Muti is the name that is universally used in southern Africa for any sort of medical potions.
Yes.
And medicine. It's basically traditional medicine. And we are using that in our Orgonite also for a more like psychic protection.
Nice. We'll just zip back to these a second. That's one of your pendants.
Yeah, that's Shungite.
Shungite, nice.
Yeah,
Shungite in the Orgonite.
Yeah, it's like powder.
Nice.
Shungite powder.
Ooh.
And traces of silver, actual silver.
Nice. And then this, you have the cell phone protectors. You have Orgonite pendants.
Yes, and we also make a zapper for killing parasites. And
we love your zapper with Orgonite and crystals in it.
Yeah, there's lots of derivatives of this technology. I don't think we should now go into each and every different little thing, you know, but the four tools that I've introduced earlier are everything you ever need for outside gifting.
Yes. And so you have a website, and you have, which we'll put the link underneath this video, Organize Africa, and people can find your things there, and they can find your things and your book on how to do all this.
Yeah.
I think this is amazing. This is Orgonite being used by subsistence farmers in Africa. And so tell us again what that upper left is.
Okay, this is a group of farmers in Kenya who have been in contact with Don Croft and his wife Carol. And they have started making their own Orgonite, and this one on the left is one of the first ones they ever made because they didn't have any molds, so they were just using like a wrap of newspaper in order to have something to pour the Orgonite in. So these are crudest tower busters, but they're 100% efficient. So they use that to fishing waters and found that the fishing was getting a lot better and more abundant, and they've started using it on on vegetable plantations and so on and so on, and also teach other farmers in the area to make it themselves and
beautiful. And I'd love to just see people like this using GANS along with it as well. It just seems like so complementary. But I love that how they just did that with newspaper because we're in simple villages.
Much nicer ones now. This picture is, you can see one, it's from 2007, so that's 11 years old.
Right.
They have now also got nice molds and all that.
Nice. Very good.
Nicer Organites.
So let's look at weather changes. And weather changes are big news on the planet. We're always talking about global warming, global cooling, droughts. And part of that is happening. It's perpetuated by, we'll call it the commercial corporate system of humankind, which is sending out wave frequencies which are damaging the natural cycles of the earth. And we can literally correct all of this. And if we will begin gifting Orgonite and using our plasma tools in various places on the planet, we can begin literally creating beautiful oases where life can be regenerative and not harmful.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I don't personally believe in global warming as a result of so-called greenhouse gases, because it's faulty science, and the colorless gas called CO2 does not form a membrane or anything that resembles a greenhouse. So it's pretty much bullshit. But there are weather changes, and some of them may be long-term cycles from solar activity, but others are just plainly induced by weather manipulation. And now we're talking the cell phone networks, the HARP installations, and a lot of people have actually found that the cell phone towers are also used for systematic weather manipulation.
Yes, I totally agree. In fact, the cell phone towers are not really needed as big as they are for transmitting cellular signal, right? They're just a carrier of some of this weather modification.
It's like a series of pictures. Maybe you want to go flip through them very quickly.
Yes.
Just from our various expeditions.
And so what we're looking at is some of what you have planted around the southern region of Africa.
Yeah, you can see those blue dots. That's basically an organ gift, whatever it is.
Yes.
And if you go through them quickly, you can see how it grows. Okay?
Yes, it's amazing how you have kind of covered
network. And that's like, now we're talking about an area of the size of Western Europe or something like that.
That's amazing. And you and a small team of people have pretty much done this, right?
There's always been a few people who came along. Unfortunately, nobody ever stayed for the whole 15 years. So we are still the core.
It's amazing.
That's why we actually got busted in Mozambique for. Then we did all the things, and we did a few excursions into Europe. This is like the concentration camps in Poland. You see Auschwitz, the other ones here, which we have all gifted, because it works on a emotional and spiritual level as well.
So as of 2011, you had done all of this in South Africa, right?
Yep.
That is amazing. 15 years worth of gifting Orgonite.
That was the first 9. That's the first. We started in 2002.
Right. So this is just the first 9 years and not even recently. And then here we go, 2012.
And now it's more like gardening work, Now it's more like
Cultivating the garden.
in the gaps here and there, or see, oh, they've put some new towers up, let's do something, you know. Somehow the era of those big expeditions is a little bit over.
Yes.
But we've done a nice one to Russia in 2016,
Nice.
where we've taken a river cruise from Moscow to St. Petersburg.
Wow.
And that was absolutely beautiful. And we gifted these whole water courses and big lakes, and obviously put out a lot in Moscow and in St. Petersburg.
That is fantastic.
And I want to eventually connect that to the Black Sea, because we connect before also on cruise ships. Cruise ships are actually the weapon of choice for ocean gifting.
Nice.
If you can't afford your own yacht, that
Nice.
is, you know.
That's
So
great.
try and get yourself a balcony suite, you know, where you can flip these things out day and
Yes.
night, and just put a string out, you know. So our long-term plan is actually to surround Africa with this.
Beautiful. And so you kind
And
of try and connect
done about-
waterways
We've
also.
already done 4,000 kilometers. You can see
Wow.
this blue line here around the southern tip of Africa. That is all cruises, and some of it we've done in a rubber duck. I don't know if you
All the way around the outside edge there.
in American English, a rubber duck probably is called a.
They call them a ducky, or it's a raft, rubber. Yeah.
There's another word. I'm just
Okay.
missing it. A
Like
zodiac.
a zodiac, right.
Zodiac.
Yep.
People call it a zodiac in America.
Rubber raft with a motor on the back.
Semi-rigid rubber thingies with two outboard motors. That's
Yes.
a zodiac. Or
That's
call it a-
incredible. So you went all the way around the outside of Africa and did that. Wow.
Yeah, I did about 1,000 kilometers in a rubber duck in small intervals, and the rest was more
A
like
friend of ours did it from Namibia up to Congo.
yeah.
Nice. Oh, beautiful, you guys. That
So it's
is.
a total pearl necklace of 4,000 kilometers.
I know somebody who goes to Mozambique a lot. Actually, it's the person who brought me. She lives in Swaziland. It's the person who brought me to Africa. We should get her to
Okay.
take some up to the beach up there.
Okay, nice.
Cool. I'll connect you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's see this on every continent, kids.
Yep. Now there are people who do that in America.
And so there's maps. You said there's a site for.
Yeah, but there's no attempt of catalogizing,
Mapping.
or because it would be futile, and we've done this. I don't know, for some reason we've felt inspired to
Keep
do
track.
that and keep track of it as far as possible. But we've also become a bit lazy with that lately.
Yes, I get it.
So
I love it that you.
The rainfalls for the first 5 years that we did that, we recorded rainfalls.
Nice. And you also, there was a big hubbub about there being a drought in Cape Town this year, and you guys actually, I believe you guys brought rain there.
Yeah, I hope that our little intervention was the thing that tipped the scale.
Yes.
Because it was a typical strange thing, and that drought in Cape Town was hyped even internationally. In CNN, there was a 5-minute feature, which is
Right.
significant for a remote area, at the perimeter of the empire.
Yes.
And they were harping about the first metropolitan city in the world running out of water, and they called it.
They were harping, ha ha ha.
Yeah, because I believe that water scarcity is a project. It's actually something that the elite is trying to drive, and then they want, obviously, by forced water management, gain more control over people, and so on and so on and so on.
Yes.
And the new need is actually, since about 2000, they're talking about the next wars are going to be fought over water.
Right.
Okay, instead of oil.
Yes.
And certain things are being pushed already in the agenda. The future water wars between Sudan and Egypt, for example, about how to use the resource of the Nile, and all these kind of things, and desertification, and so on and so on and so on.
Yes.
Certification is actually a result of surplus DOR in the atmosphere. So you can say that in terms of your planetary surface, a desert is the expression of deadly orgone energy.
Deadly orgone energy, right, is the desert expression, yes.
Deserts. In the heart of humans and on the surface of the earth. It creates deserts. And with Orgonite, we can regreen those deserts.
Yes.
Which we have shown a few times. And, you know, Northern Africa would be fantastic, but unfortunately the powers that be have destabilized these areas so that it's not safe to go there.
So we are going to invite...
If you go to a country like Libya or Egypt or some place and just massively gift it, you know.
Yes. And what we need to do is invite people locally to just begin doing this in their regions. And so what I love is what we have next here is in your ebook, which anyone can download for free. You have taught us how to make Orgonite and how easy and how beautiful it is. The polyester resin, you know, we went out and had to hunt for that here where we are in the Yucatan of Mexico. Any suggestions on how you get the resin? I mean, it seems to be connected with boat repair.
Wholesale, you don't want to go to, like, I don't know, I mean, Walmart.
Like a hobby shop or something. You don't want those small.
But hobby shops will probably sell it in 5 liter or 1 gallon.
Okay.
At exorbitant prices. I would actually, in any town, talk to the people who make fiberglass pools and ask them where they buy their resin.
Okay, fiberglass pools.
Yeah, because it's the same resin essentially.
Okay, good. That's really great. But so like we're in a poor region where nobody's making fiberglass pools, but there's boating. The boating industry is around here.
You may have boating industry.
Yes.
They will use resin. It's not exactly the same resin, but if where they buy, those companies should also be able to source the polyester resin for casting.
Okay, that's good to know. And you use the polyester resin that you pour a hardener into it, right? A little.
Yes, it comes with a catalyst or hardener.
Okay.
And it's normally about 2%, but it depends on the weather also. If it's very hot, you use less, and if it's cold, you use more.
Interesting. Okay.
And if the shape is big, you also use less because it gets hotter on its own.
And you know, it's interesting. We learned with making GANS that the weather and the latitude and longitude will vary, you know, how much salt you have in the GANS. So it's interesting to know we're blending with our environment as we do these things. So you really cram the muffin tins full of the metal filings. And I see you have a nice crystal.
Second picture that the crystal goes in the middle. So we don't need it to be sticking out or being visible. It just has to be embedded in the Orgonite.
Okay.
So we make a little bed of filings and then we put the crystal. Doesn't have to be a beautiful one. It can be just a milky, odd breakage of quartz.
Right.
And then we cover that with the filings again, and then we pour the resin, which automatically fills all the gaps.
And we also found a place where they were making aluminum window frames. And so they had just piles of filings on the floor. Where else would you,
Fantastic. Yeah, these kind of shops are the ones to go for.
Yes. Where else would you look for something like that?
Yeah, that is a very good one. We have a place where all kinds of engineering firms are getting things laser cut and cut out of solid aluminum blocks and stuff like that, and we basically buy their floor sweepings.
Nice.
Which they collect in huge bags, and they are very nice because it's not only aluminum. There's always a bit of brass and copper in it, which gives the energy a bit more warmth.
Nice.
But you don't need it, you know. I mean, people are often getting excited when they say, "Oh, aluminum! I don't like aluminum." Aluminum works fantastically because it makes thin shavings, and you want as many as possible borders between aluminum and resin. So, for example, if you get iron shavings from other machining processes, they are much more clunky, and what you will find is that you get a lot less different layers together in
It
the same
almost
skin.
sounds like the filings of the metal, because you said they kind of bounce off of that, and then you have the organic item in there. So it almost like you're resetting the resonance of the energy that's moving around.
Yeah, what it does is the more layerings you have, the more
Finer.
border the two materials, the better.
Yes.
Okay, and yeah, that's why the aluminium filings work quite well. And the other thing is that when the aluminium is cut or shredded or shaved or whatever the process is, on the edges it forms sort of crystals.
Okay.
Other metals don't, and that is also quite interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Cosmic future science, which is here right at our fingertips to help us shift this reality that has been disturbed by thought outside of love. And here we are able to restore it in these simple ways. So how do you make the beautiful point on your holy hand grenade?
That's an old technique that we're not using anymore.
Okay, the funnel.
We were buying cheap household funnels,
Mm-hmm.
and then we made the tip with basically masking tape.
Oh, nice.
So there would always be a little bit of a interruption in the smooth surface.
Yes.
What we do now is we've actually found somebody who's making us porcelain molds.
Nice. So
Which is a much better surface also, and we don't have that problem. But you can use almost everything. You can make like party paper hats out of newspaper and pour it in.
yes.
Or,
So do you have to oil the mold?
these plastic molds, not necessarily. The glazed porcelain also doesn't need it really.
The metal muffin
But
tins?
in the metal molds, there is a wax called it's a silicone wax specifically for form release.
Okay.
You know, it's called form release wax or ram wax or something.
Do you think oil would work? Like a vegetable
you
oil?
can try cooking oil, but it could be a bit sticky.
Okay. So
Maybe coconut oil, but that is too nice actually.
yes. So comparatively, when the guys made the little newspaper forms in Kenya, is there anything wrong with, like, if you had a disposable, like we just made a couple of these in tuna cans because we happen to have them.
Fantastic.
And
Fantastic.
is there anything wrong with just putting it out in the tuna can?
No, nothing is wrong with that.
Okay.
What you can also do is, if you want to do something funny, get some of these cheap, for children, you know, when they play in the sandpit.
Yes.
These forms for, I don't know what it can be. It can be animals or,
right.
You know, or shells or seas.
Yeah.
Stars,
and just make them any shape, right?
You can make them any shape, because in order to get the effect of a simple tower buster, shape plays no role.
Right.
If you want to do something about shape, you want to do a pyramid or something, yes. But it's not as important as people think. It's much less important than people normally think.
And this is exciting.
The shape of an Easter bunny, or you know,
right.
with the two crystals as ears.
Really doesn't matter.
You can let your fantasy play.
Yes, let your thoughts.
Simple ones without too much decoration, so that you don't worry too much about throwing them out of a car. You know,
yes.
If you make them people, then you wouldn't want to toss them.
Yes, this is amazing. That's a lot of stuff in the Tower Buster, right? A lot of filings, a lot of resin.
Yeah, that's about 2-gallon bucket, or 9 liters, and you can take bigger ones.
So in a region like this, we're in a region and we could put one of these in our backyard and nobody would really know that it was there probably. Would that help? And we're maybe 3 blocks from a very, very large power plant that serves the whole region. Would that be helpful?
I would independent, you know, the cloudbuster is really more for the upper regions of the atmosphere.
Okay.
I would still want to cover the ground with some of these dirty Harrys, and for example, a power plant like that could be ringed with 20 of those, which are easy to maybe even some earth pipes always helps, you know, because a lot of energy goes into the earth.
Okay.
Especially when you have such high concentrations of energy like a power plant.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that will go through the earth and infuse negatively all the water, underground water.
Right, and that we're at the base of this laguna where the water's flowing into the lake, from the springs underneath, and the power plant's sitting right over that.
Yeah, it probably affects that laguna as well.
Yes, that's been our feeling.
Maybe some earth pipes. You know, the earth pipe, basically what you do is, if you want to do it yourself, you take a single pointed crystal pointing downwards towards the cavity which goes into the earth.
Okay.
And you can put a copper coil around it to give the energy more spin and more direction.
Okay.
The copper coil would be clockwise in direction of movement.
Okay.
And then you just embed that in organ mix.
Okay.
And if you were putting 3 or 5 of those around that power plant, it would definitely help. And
you have the open end of the pipe going up, right?
No, into
the open end of the pipe goes in. And how? Yes. And the crystal is pointing down into the earth or up? Down. And how close to the power plant do we need to be?
As close as you can get, depending on where the security fence is and where the guys with the dogs and the torches and the guns are patrolling.
I know. I think it's pretty chill down here.
I don't want to mess with them, but you know.
Yeah, we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a strategy. I like it. I love it. Okay, self-empowerment. Start gifting. Start with your house.
Yeah.
Put 4 tower busters or dirty Harrys. Is that put 4 dirty Harrys?
We talked about that already. So that's for your freestanding house, obviously.
Yes. We talked about this already. You're right.
That's for suburbia. Not everybody lives in suburbia.
Right.
If you don't live in suburbia, you can still gift your block, your whatever type of building it is. And you can still put one at your water pipe. It doesn't really matter so much. Don't worry too much. If it's just the pipe near your kitchen sink, it will still go all the way. And then your what you call it, breaker box in the apartment, if it's an apartment. And then just try to gift your surroundings. You know, if you don't have a freestanding house, if you live in the 50th floor of a skyscraper, you must just sort of walk around the block and try and find hiding places in the neighborhood.
Nice.
You know? So there is no wrong. You cannot do it wrong, really.
Nice. So I'm thinking I want to put plasma inside of all of mine. So I need to start finding some little vials or something I can put it in there with.
Yeah. Now we've started making that, and it definitely potentizes it.
Good. Cool. Beautiful. And the Orgonite's a great way to contain it, you know, and maybe also help it last longer.
That fire from breaking and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. This is beautiful. A tower buster with a holy hand grenade. Cloudbuster with a holy hand grenade. So
I wanted to tell you, because I've propagated this now as the new lazy approach, because this, I mean, you've seen that we've done all of Southern Africa and so on, and then they still somehow managed to pull off a drought.
So if people are complaining about major chemtrails in their region, they would be more ones that would want to put up a cloudbuster, right?
Yeah. You see what I found, because that restaurant that I have now is about 900 kilometers south of Johannesburg. And I drove very often through an area called the Free State, which is a province of South Africa. And it was full of chemtrails, and they were suffering drought and what, you know. And we put one of these in the northern Free State on the farm of an organic farmer friend of ours, and it changed the whole thing. The chemtrails basically disappeared in an area where I was driving through 5 times in a year. It just disappeared over the whole length of 300, 400, 500 kilometers.
Nice.
And that was so amazing. And he got instant rain basically when he put that up.
It was a big success.
The farm is flourishing, you know. So 3 or 4 of these basically turned the Western Cape around and the whole Cape Town story.
Nice. That is awesome.
That is additional to what we had put earlier. I mean, I have said to say we have done groundwork before, you know, but then obviously over time they're building new cell phone towers and they're putting this and that and that. So eventually you have to do something again. You know?
Right.
That's why I call it gardening now, because it's like oh, you see some weeds are sprouting, so you have to do something, you know, or maybe put a new flower bed here or there. But we don't have to do that massive area gifting anymore.
So the holy hand grenade on top of it kind of just makes the energy spread out more at a ground level.
The grenade is actually with a GANS inside.
Oh, nice.
That's the whole story.
It looks beautiful. And you know what? It looks like a sculpture. I mean, you could almost look at this and go, oh, what a beautiful sculpture in your garden, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? That copper has gotten naturally nano-coated by being out in the rain and the sun.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that's actually the one that we are now selling as a booster HHG for existing cloudbusters.
Nice.
It's just the normal shape of an HHG, but it's got the file of GANS, plasma GANS in it.
Nice.
And we've just filed off the corner so that it fits between the pipes.
I love it. Very cool.
No upgrade to an existing cloudbuster. You know?
Very cool. Very cool.
That is here in Aberdeen in the Karoo, also kind of a semi-desert area, which was suffering a year of no rain or something. And here is the cloudbuster, and there's the rain.
Nice.
And that's when we put these fireballs in the sea in Cape Town lately. The Keshe.
These balls here, right?
These are the ones. These are the ones, yeah.
Yes. And you were out on a boat and you put them out in the water around Cape Town.
Yeah.
You guys are beautiful. I send you big hugs, and may
you too.
Many people get great ideas from you. This is the power plant right near us. So this is what we're going to be.
It's just a transformer station. It's not a power plant.
Okay. So
doesn't matter. That needs only 5 or 6. It's harmless.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can have that done in the next few days, I think.
Yeah. It's just one of those typical towers in disguise, you know. I don't know if they do that in America. I'm sure they do.
Right.
They look like fir trees and palm trees and
this is you guys.
Yeah,
that's some friends in Cape Town there where we left one of our also GANS infused cloudbusters.
Nice.
That's in Cape Town in February, I think, or when did we go?
February, yeah, right.
Or March.
Yeah, no,
I think February.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that is a friend of ours also in Cape Town who's got 2 of our cloudbusters, and she put one of these beautiful slim Sperling.
Yes, I know what those. Yes.
It's another technology that is fully compatible with what we are doing. By the way.
Yes, they're amazing. Really nice.
And the slim Sperling stuff is absolutely valid, by the way. It's 100%. Yeah.
I agree. And so what do you think combining it would do?
Yeah, I mean, this lady just had that, and she felt inspired to put it there, and I'm sure it's enhancing.
Yeah.
My custom. This is another traditional healer that we met, also in the wider region of Cape Town, so that's still affecting the situation in Cape Town. And this is actually a Khoisan traditional healer. He's 98 years old. You wouldn't
That
believe
is
it.
incredible.
And this white lady is his apprentice. So
Nice.
she was suffering of some condition. She's originally a musician and actress, and she was suffering from some horrible condition, and he actually healed her from that, and then she wanted to learn his art. So she's now staying with him on a farm and very much remote and learning all the herbs and all these things. So
Nice.
we felt that they could be lovely guardians for a cloudbuster, and they were also very happy about it.
Nice.
The next picture shows some lovely rain in the Karoo. The Karoo is the dry heartland of South Africa, you can say. It's like a mini desert also. You know,
Nice.
take that. Because that triggered some beautiful rain. But it was so wet in the Karoo that you couldn't get out with a 4x4 truck. You know, it was just too wet.
Wow, this is a lot, but you know what? I think it is going to be really good for people to hear all this. I've wanted to do this for so long, and I think we did one show before, but getting this really complete overview of what this is, why you do it. Huh?
Yeah, I did.
It's become a 2-hour now.
It's okay. It's all perfect. Those people can listen to it bit by bit, and they can learn. It's so educational, so good. We'll put some links underneath. What was that?
Definitely not 20 minutes.
No, that's okay though. We'll put some links underneath, and so people can find you and find your work and download your ebook, and they can start making their own Orgonite and gift it, or they can order some from you and have it in their homes. And both are just awesome.
You see, the beauty of this whole Orgonite network or movement is that it's not secret technology. We're not trying to make it look mysterious or you know, that we know something that nobody else understands or something. It's really a grassroots movement.
Yes.
And we are happy to sell it, obviously, but we don't have to. You know, the thing is, the most important thing is that it gets out there and that people are using it and that it gets into areas that need it.
Yes, and I would encourage people to sign up for your newsletter at your website, because those are so educational. We read them every time they come in. They're like, "Oh, guess what Georg said this week?" You know. So
Thank you.
yes. And Frederica, I love always hearing about your little experiments in the background. So keep me posted. Send me pictures now and then.
I do.
She's the one that does everything. I'm just the talker, you know, that's my role.
Well, it takes all of us, you know, it takes all of us, takes a village to raise a human race.
Yes.
All right, you guys, so much love. What was that? And if you see anybody I know over there, tell them I said hello, my fond regards, and I'll send you.
You know, we've seen John a lot. He's a very good friend, the one that is on one of the pictures, the older guy.
Yeah.
That has played.
He has a machine shop, right?
He's got some ancient machines that are up to the people, like 1928 lathes from Sheffield, you know, or
right.
And he loves these old machines. He's really good with that stuff, and he's been our hands-on experimenter with a lot of free energy ideas and designs. You know?
Good.
And he's actually in the process of buying himself a remote farm. It seems that he might be able to afford that now by selling his place here. And he just wants to experiment, you know. He wants to.
There's more coming, and we're working on getting the little bits and pieces out. So
I would love to see a freestanding MagRef generator actually powering a house.
Yes, I would too. We will. I think it's going to actually. My thought is it's actually going to leap beyond that pretty fast. So
possibly just start levitating and flying without electricity.
Yes.
Yeah,
then we don't need it.
Much better. Much better.
Yes. So much love to you guys.
220 or 110 volts for our vacuum cleaner, right?
Yes. It will. It's coming. It's coming. I know we're just on the brink, and what everybody's doing is bringing in all the pieces. So we're very close, and we'll keep spreading the news. All right, you guys. So much love, many blessings.
Thank you.
To breathe, smile, and love, and by so doing, we change the world.
Perfect.
We shall see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Century Superhuman. And I know that the answers are inside. Yeah, I am a 21st century superhuman. Now is the time. Come on everyone, let's celebrate. We are the children of the sun. I can see it when I look into your eyes. We are the same, and we are light, yeah, we are one. Here now, hear my ancient prayer and sing along. We are awakening as one. And we can make a difference, yeah, we can be the change it takes to make the world a lot more fun. Well, if you're feeling kinda down and you need some inspiration to remember who you are, oh, now, child, please don't frown. You can choose a new vibration, and these words can take you far. I am a 21st century superhuman, and I know that the answers are inside. I am the 21st century superhuman. Now is the time. Down and you need some inspiration to remember who you are. Whoa, now, child, please don't frown. You can choose a new vibration, and these words can take you far. I am a 21st century superhuman, and I know that the answers are inside. I am 21st century superhuman. Now is the time. I am a 21st century superhuman. I know that the answers are inside. I Century Superhuman. Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time.